Alright, folks, hope you guys don't scare too easily, but we have ourselves a match of the match, folks. We got Stan the Man Lee versus the King of Horror, Stephen King. No, you're seeing that correct, folks, and you're hearing it correct. And this is a Crystal Lake Brawl, folks, so they're going to fight at Crystal Lake for all extensive purposes, as Stephen King is already starting on Stan Lee, two of probably the most influential writers of modern time. Both men are responsible for either nightmares or dreams coming true. Stan Lee, of course, the creator and founder and the father of Marvel, if you would. And Stephen King, of course, the brain behind such things as It, The Shining, Pet Sematary, Cujo. Some of the most horrific tales you'll ever read about. And Stan Lee is fighting back into this thing. Stan Lee was a very popular man, unfortunately. In the modern time, unfortunately, he is no longer part of society, I guess you'd say. But in our show, in our world, he will always live on, as you see him taking on the King of Horror, Stephen King, who will also always live on. As Stan Lee is now fighting back into this thing. I think if you guys watched the Badass tournament, Badass Melee earlier today, you saw Stan Lee is in the final three. That shows you that he is more than just a little old man, folks. You can't be that little old man. You can't have a little fight in there if you come up with things such as, you know, Captain America or the Punisher, Deadpool, Daredevil, the Hulk. What do they all have in common? They all came from the brain of Stan Lee. So Stan Lee must have a little of that fighting in him if he can do such things as Stephen King, of course, on the opposite spectrum. He's come up with some of the most horrific things that gave people nightmares for years. And Stan Lee with a spine buster on Stephen King. These two guys very big on writing, but as we all know, you know, as a fellow writer myself, I can tell you that I like to, you know, critique my things, and maybe we don't know what the story is behind this one. Is it ego, maybe? Is it a friendly challenge? I don't know, but I guess we're going to find, I guess a lot of people also wanted to see it as well, and part of our show is giving you guys, the public, what you guys want. So for those people who always wanted to see what would happen if Stephen King and Stan Lee got into it, here's your answer. This is probably the creepiest place ever. It is Crystal Lake, so you never really know what's going to happen here. As Stan Lee now, Stephen King looks like he's stalking Stan Lee. Oh, the full flying body press. And a fist drop. I don't know what those noises are, folks, but I'll tell you one thing. This place creeps me out anyway. I'm glad I have not been challenged to the Crystal Lake Brawl anytime soon. Oh, and Stan Lee fights back in there with a DDT of his own on the King of Horror, Stephen King. King falls back with an arm drag. Snap near. And a nice neck breaker. And Stan Lee now is having problems with Stephen King. There's a monkey flip. Probably one of the oldest moves I've ever seen in wrestling right there. As Stan Lee is up, and there's another flying body press by Stephen King. And Stephen King wins, ladies and gentlemen. Stan Lee is down, ladies and gentlemen. But believe me, folks, don't count him yet. I'm sure you'll see this some point down the line. As of right now, congratulations to Stephen King, one of the greatest writers of modern time, has defeated another man who is also one of the greatest writers of all time. Much respect for both. Stick around, more action coming your way.